Welcome to the Coaching Edge podcast with your co-hosts, Dr. Steve Jeffs and Erwin de Grave. Each episode, we bring you expert guests and transformative coaching insights. Let's dive in.
Welcome to a new episode of the Coaching Edge podcast with your co-host, Dr. Steve Jeffs, and myself, Erwin de Grave. And today we have the pleasure to talk to Colin Scotland. Hello, Colin. How are you doing?
Hey, Erwin. Awesome. Thank you. And yourself?
Very good. And welcome, Steve, as well. Of course, always, as I say. So, Colin, we could try to introduce yourself, but I'm 100% sure you know yourself much better than we do. So, who's Colin? How did he get in coaching? And what does he do nowadays?
Okay. I'll give you the short version. I've lived many lifetimes in my 51 years on the planet, as most of us have. I began my professional life as an academic. I was a lecturer in marketing for the CIM in the UK. And I got distracted building a business that grew very successfully to multiple seven figures in revenue. I went from a multimillionaire, and then in 2013, I became flat broke. That business went bust, and I lost everything that I owned in the world. In the aftermath of that, I discovered coaching as a thing, right? I've done martial arts for all of my adult life, and I would teach kids how to do jujitsu. And I was on the mats in jujitsu, and this young guy was getting super frustrated. I was trying to do a throw, and I was saying, hey, move your other left leg, and trying to help him to get around this thing. He did the most beautiful throw I've ever seen. And he came up and his eyes lit up, and it lit something up in me to see a change in that boy in that moment. And it stayed with me ever since. That was shortly after my business had gone bust, and I was struggling to pay the bills and keep food on the table and all of that. And I was like, wow. And then I realized I went on a journey of discovery, and it was like, you mean I can get paid to have conversations and get paid to see that light in other people? And something in that sparked a change in me. And I went from a sports coach. I used to teach black belts how to run their own clubs and gyms and stuff like that, to becoming a coach in the area that I had a lot of lived experience, marketing, how to build a business, both of those areas. And I like to say I became an overnight success in 5 years. It took me 5 years to build my practice to a place of back to multiple six figures in revenue, and then spent 12 years coaching other coaches, thought leaders, and businesses to grow their practice. Really enjoyed that. And in November 2022, my jaw dropped to the floor. It was a Wednesday when I first seen ChatGPT. I watched this AI thing blow my mind. I was literally fishing around the floor for the top of my head. I was like, holy smokes, Batman, world is never going to be the same again. In that moment, I basically went all in on AI because I knew it was going to be the thing that changed the world. And from that moment on, I've been teaching, sharing all of that business growth stuff combined with how we leverage AI to amplify the coach, the leader, the business. And that's been my work ever since. I'm very proud to be a strategic partner to coaching.com, and I head up their AI for Coaches mentorship. And that's where I find myself today. That's the short version. It was still quite long, wasn't it?
There's a lot in there. And we could go in all sorts of different directions. But what is it that's catching your attention these days? Like right now, in amongst what you're doing, and what excites you the most?
Same thing as on the mats with that boy. The light in the eye, the change, the transformation, the shift. As a coach, there's nothing more privileged than to be holding that space and seeing that shift in that person in front of you. So that's the most sacred, precious part of the coaching relationship. And so all of the work I do is centered around AI now. And in all of that work, and I make no apology about it, it's how do we leverage the tech not to stop us having those moments, but to allow us to have more. And that's the thing that gets me out of bed every morning, is to how do we leverage this tech to allow you to see more of that light of change in the people you're coaching. That's what still has me fired up and still is the most important thing to me right now.
So what is AI bringing, from your point of view, to amplify that light in the eyes?
So the thing I see everywhere is people look into AI almost like the myth of passive income when you're building a business, right? The myth of sitting on a swinging hammock on a fancy beach, sipping a Mai Tai while money's cha-chinging its way into your bank, right? Businesses don't work like that. Most people take a similar approach with AI. Like they sit there and kind of go, okay, make me this, build me that, create me this, expecting AI to be this magic bullet, this panacea that does all of that work. And there's no escaping doing the work as a leader, as a coach. We have to be on the path. We have to walk the walk and we have to do the work, right? And so my view of AI and the way I approach it is one of how do we leverage this technology so that we can be more in the work and do more of the human work of what we need and who we need to become to be a better coach in order to create more of that transformation in the people that we sit with.
You mentioned something, and this is really, really important. And it's not only to do with AI. I've said this for the last 30, 40 odd years, is that technology or tools are just tools. They're not the solution. And many people think it is the solution, which is the wrong focus. It's the same. The coach is not the solution. The coach is the tool that's going to help you to get where you are as well. It's the same. And as you said, hey, yeah, I'll give AI and AI is going to make everything happen. Well, it's going to make things happen, but it's going to be a lot of crap if you're not on top of it and making sure that it's the right thing. And I want to connect, and I don't know why. How, and I don't know your background story around this, but in 2013, when you all went bust, what did you learn? And what are you using from that learning in the past? And how would AI been a good ally at that time for you if it would have existed? I'm just putting this on the table.
Yeah, that's a cool question. So for me, 2013 was a period of like the darkest period in my life and also the brightest in that I went on a journey. I discovered Michael Singer. I went on a spiritual journey of discovery and realized that everything I ever needed is always already here. And the answers that I was looking for weren't in the amount of money in my bank account, the number of employees I had, the recognition I had for the success of the business that I was running. The answers were already here. And that misquote by Gandhi of be the change that you want to see in the world, you know, or when we change, the tendencies of those around them change. And so for me, that was my real journey in discovering that I can be a positive force in this world for me. And it starts in here with me. And then that shift then ripples out. I call it the golden ripple effect, right? That shift then ripples out because I get to show up differently, which allows you in front of me to be different as a result, right? And that's the golden ripple effect that we create. So as I use AI now, it's in service of that, not in the replacement of that. And that's very different to how most people look and view and even play with AI right now. So I would like to believe, I don't know, at that moment in my life, I may well have just been one of these guys that said, hey, go get me a shit ton of clients and make me a load of money, you know, because I'd just gone from being multimillionaire to flat broke. I don't know that I would have taken the I wouldn't have been as level-headed as I am right now, maybe. I would like to think that I would have used it more for that. Does that make sense?
It does.
I think it's a follow-on question in a second, but I'm curious about metaphors, because that story points to a couple of metaphors of how AI is and how it can be used. What's your metaphor for how people currently tend to use AI? And what's the metaphor for how you see it supporting and supplementing who they are?
So right now, it's a non-human intelligence. It's not human. Most people, without understanding or realizing what the thing is, take that sitting on the hammock, sipping a Mai Tai approach to the tech. Like, hey, go do this for me. hey, give me this, give me that, without any realization or understanding of what that actually does in practice. So in practice, when we take that approach, the majority of the output from an AI is generic, cookie cutter, toaster, robotic sounding slop, right? AI slop is what they call it. The difference I see is one of the light inside of the human being amplified and magnified, so we become like the sun, and AI is the fuel, the power, the partner alongside us that enables us and empowers us to shine like the sun. Because when we shine like the sun in the world, that's when we make a positive difference. So how does that differ in practice? Rather than sitting swinging on the hammock going, hey, AI, go and run my world for me, we have to own who we are, why we do the work, and why we're showing up and how we're showing up, right? So this is not an easy path. This is the path least trod. This is the path that causes you as a coach or as a leader to have to look within, because that's where the answers are. And AI helps and fuels that. That's the vision I have for how we embrace AI in our workplace, right? Not one of swinging on the hammock just with our eyes closed, oblivious to the world, the apocalyptic world around us, right? Oh, we're sat on a beach, we're okay. The world's in flames, right?
I love that. So there's a couple of layers to that. One, the independence or the separateness in that first model. I'm on the hammock and you go and kind of do the work. There is that separateness as opposed to the interdependence or interconnected synergy in the second one. The metaphors that come to me, I picture people using AI almost as, genie in Aladdin's lamp. I say, I've got a question. Give me the answer. Oh, yay, there's the answer. Give me the answer. Give me the answer. And it is, transactional at best, but it's kind of fun, to play with this genie that gives you kind of whatever you think you're looking for in a way that it looks like what you think you wanted. And that's kind of fun as opposed to almost a mirror or a magnifying glass. I love the metaphor of the light within as a sun. And then a sun can go everywhere, but something shifts as we sort of focus in a particular direction. We've got to get rid of the clouds. We've got to keep it focused, but we've got to be able to adapt. And that's almost what I'm hearing as you speak, where together the system now is evolved.
Yeah, because if you think about the coaching relationship, when we facilitate that transformation in that person in front of us, it's their journey of discovery. We increase their level of awareness, their level of consciousness, so they get to see things they couldn't see before. And that to me is a real hidden gift of AI in that process, because AI is a master of pattern recognition, and it can help us to see things in ways that we didn't see before. And this, I think, is a lot of the hidden gifts that people are missing with the tool when they just go, bah, 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 give me an email, write me a LinkedIn post, not seeing the ability for it to expand our own consciousness, which is the very thing that allows that light to shine brighter. Because when we become aware, we're able then to, place our energy and our attention there, which is what makes the difference, right?
Yes. And what I first of all, I see an AI as a personal assistant. And what does that mean? If you would hire a personal assistant as a person, you need to train them. And that's what you're talking about. You need to train your AI that it knows about you, what you do, what you're focusing, what are your blind spots, what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, how can it help you with certain weaknesses, what is the thing, so that the responses you're going to get is all based on the input you give it and the training you give it. The more you train it, the better it can understand you and better it can help you, as you said, to look at that sign and help you. How can I make these things better, but also quicker? Because if you have trained your AI in a certain and very well, and after a while, and you have that structure, it's much quicker. It's going to help you to give your answer and help you. No, it's not giving you. That's the thing. Don't look at AI to give you answers. Look at AI that gives you input that you can look at and say, oh, thank you for, because I'm asking my AI to challenge me on my things that I put in. Do I see this wrong or wrong? Please tell me if it's wrong. So it allows me to, oh, I didn't think about it. That's a good idea. Let's focus on this and let's work further on this.
There you go. And in that moment, what you've done and what you've triggered is a shift in you, your perspective, your thinking, your way of seeing and viewing. So your field of consciousness has just expanded in that moment. And AI, as a master of pattern recognition, is the tool not to just reflect back things that you already know and see, but to shine a light and help you to see in those areas that you couldn't see before. That to me is the real gift. And the critical part in what you've just shared there, Erwin, is the concept of context engineering. Like we said earlier, most people just bang on the keyboard, chat into this magic tool. Hey, give me this, do that, do the other, without realizing that it's not human. It's a non-human intelligence. And we have to be very intentional about how we construct what's called context. Originally, in that moment in 2022, when I had that jaw drop to the floor experience of ChatGPT, everything in the world then was about prompt engineering. You got to learn how to write a prompt. The better prompt you write, the better the outputs the AI will give you, right? That's not really true anymore as it was back then. What's true right now is what you highlighted, Erwin, and that's context engineering. And there's even a progression above that, right? Around harnessing these AI agents as they're working autonomously. But right now, the key thing for anybody, wherever you are on the journey with AI, is how much context are you giving the tool so it knows the things that we know in here that aren't written down? And if they're not written down, that's the thing to fix, the writing them down. I've had endless conversations with coaches, and I always start my coaching conversations with a brand new client with why. Why are we doing this work? Like, why are you showing up in this role? Why are we doing this? What's the purpose? I love that Nietzsche quote, right? He who has a why to live can bear almost anyhow. And when we're anchored in the reason that we're showing up to do the work, for me, it's that light, that helping people to be that light. I feel like that's the positive shift, the ripple effect that changes the world for the better. So what's that for you? And when I ask that question, and I've had the privilege of working with some very, very accomplished people, right? And they struggle to articulate the why, the purpose, the reason, to codify. And if those things aren't codified, then it becomes an issue because we can't give context to AI that isn't outside of here, that lives in our tacit understanding and knowledge. So the first step is give AI a ton more content. Whatever you're giving it right now, give it 10 times as much, like literally 10 times as much. And that's a leap ahead from that other way of working.
I would like to make a small change. Just don't throw it. Structure it in a certain way. So, for example, that is because you can keep repeating, and if you're more advanced, like you are, and when we probably are as well, is to put this in a kind of document that you can reuse, and then certainly like with projects, and you can even then go with your local brain with Obsidian if you set this up that you really can work on. I'm going in detail right now, but that's it. It's what I want to make the difference is just don't throw things. Make it a structured way so that it helps you and it helps the AI not only now but in the future as well.
100%. Yes. So simple things like, who are you? How do you work? How do you like to think through problems? What are your core values? What gets you up in the morning to do the work that you do? Who do you serve? How do you serve them? What are the projects you're working on right now? What's important in your world? All of these things have to be, you're right, Owen, they have to be written down. Because if they're written down, we can give them to AI as context. And when AI can see that context, now it doesn't have to guess. It can make such a better judgment call on exactly what it thinks you need, because that's all it's doing. It's matching a pattern. Hey, give me a LinkedIn post. Okay, here's a LinkedIn post. But then if we say, hey, I've been a marketer, a martial artist, a musician, an educator, all of these things, and I live and die by the values of love, compassion, integrity. I always start with the human. I always end with the human. I never focus on how tech can X. And we're filling in the blanks, right? We give that level of context because it's written down. That's the biggest leap, I think, is most people don't have that kind of stuff written down. And so having it written down is what allows us to give AI a level of detail that makes it feel almost magical in how it responds then.
Exactly. I want to add again another thing on this. Also put down your weaknesses. So that's what I've done. So what I've done, I had a lot of kind of amount of strengths reports and personality reports. I put them in one document and I uploaded it. Say, give me all those different reports and tell me who I am and what are my strengths, what are my weaknesses. And certainly with those weaknesses, being able to give that to AI, my AI now knows that, hey, Owen, you're going again in that pattern of a weakness, and that's like an escape. Hey, let's focus on this.
I like that. I like that. Because one of the most powerful things we can ask AI in the spirit of expanding our awareness and our consciousness is, what am I missing? What's the hidden and non-obvious in this topic, in this area, in this thing? So yeah, playing in that negative space, there's power there. I love that. I love that.
Interesting. So, we're talking about, in many ways, a completely different view of AI that most people have. It was a transactional tool, as we said, that genie, we're asking questions, it's going away and doing stuff. Now we're talking about training it to understand who we are, so it knows who we are almost better than we know who we are, because there's a whole self-discovery phase to be able to put all of that stuff that lives in us into words, which the coach in me really appreciates and gets excited by. To train it to be able to better guess what's going to light our fire. Because remember, it's all coming back to that sun inside us, as you said before. So as a coach, as a business owner, as a business leader, like, how can AI help us? Because I can picture what we're talking about, but it still feels like we're just talking about better chat, because it knows the weakness, it knows the strengths. What are we not seeing when we look at AI in its chat form?
That's I think part of the issue is that we're living in an era where take yourself back to when cars first got invented, right? And cars were first called horseless carriages because everybody was riding around on horses and horse-drawn carriages, and everything that everybody knew was the horse-drawn carriage, right? So it was all horses, saddles, leather, straps, reins, wheels, all of those things. And then this motorized vehicle came along that we didn't have any frame of reference for. So we called them horseless carriages. And we thought in terms of horsepower. We still to this day give cars reference to engines in terms of horsepower, right? So the frame right now is similar around AI. The frame right now is set in typing on a keyboard, giving chat text instructions, getting text back. Yeah, we might dictate and talk to the app and things like that. That's still in the old frame. That's still in the realms of the horseless carriage. And actually, AI now, as we live and breathe, as we record this session today, is operational. AI has what I call hands. It can do anything that a human being can do, sat at a keyboard with a mouse. So it's operational. And that again, that's a frame shift that needs to happen to appreciate that, because most people think, yeah, I'll give better context, get better chats, like you said. Like that's not how AI is operating right now. AI can legitimately operationalize in ways that we never imagined before. So if you think about, I usually describe this in my workshops by drawing a diagram, and I'll try and create a visual of it so you understand. But if we type a text chat in, we get text out, and it's a back and forth, a linear conversation with an AI. Hey, what about this? AI responds, we respond back, and it goes back and forth. When we have the context in place that we've just been speaking about, and then we look at the new frame of an AI that does rather than an AI that chats, we can say to AI, hey, AI, I have a problem acquiring new clients. I've got a website, I've got a funnel, I've got active social media presence, a newsletter, a podcast, this, that, the other. Like, I'd like to set a goal of me acquiring 10 new clients in the next 60 days. Help me work towards that goal. So now what happens now in this agentic, it's called this agentic arena of AI, is the AI takes the goal of Colin needs 10 more clients in the next 60 days, and it breaks down that task. It breaks down the context. It looks where I am right now. It looks at my world. It looks at the world out there. It looks at where the opportunities are from a positioning perspective, from a marketing perspective, from an actual acquisition perspective, because I might be cheap and say, hey, zero budget. Let's do this with zero budget, right? And then AI works actively to complete that task. How? Well, it doesn't just do a back and forth conversation. I love movies, right? And I love the movie Everything Everywhere All at Once. It's a great film, right? So it does everything everywhere all at once. It creates multiple processes in the background. It creates what are called sub-agents, and they all run at once. One agent's doing research. The other agent's looking at your website. This agent's devising a plan. And then the master agent kind of orchestrates it all, puts it all together, and it doesn't stop there. It can create the resources, it can create the assets, it can build the website, it can build and install the lead nurture sequences in your email platform. It can legitimately do all of those things when it's set up in the right way.
Yeah.
And that to me is the exciting part, way beyond what anybody's conceiving of right now. A few are, but most are still banging away on the keyboard, thinking of it as a horseless carriage, right?
Mm.
I love
It's all
that metaphor. One question I've got there. So, coaching leaders, working with leaders in organizations, one of the biggest challenges that I see, or two big challenges that I see functionally with human to human communication, which we theoretically been practicing for a lot longer than we have, human computer communications. And one of that is communication and its inefficiency, and the other is trust. Leaders delegate poorly and they get disappointed results. And these are people that are educated, they're experts in their field. And there is a mindset of, well, hang on, if I can't trust my team to do it, how can I trust this thing that I can't even picture, can't watch, don't know what's going on, like the, Skinner's black box kind of thing. How can leaders trust something like AI? And what are some of the, I guess, the guardrails that need to be present? Because, you said when it's set up correctly, so it's not just a chat, go and do, there's other things there that are important.
As flashy, as attractive, as easy as it may seem and look and appear, right? It's a little bit of like this wizardry looking thing. So I talk and I show how these things can legitimately build. I do these things live, right? Build somebody a brand new website in 4 minutes, a website that would have cost $20,000-$30,000 to go and build. So these things are real and true and accurate. And just taking a step back, the setup correctly piece that you mentioned, the word guardrails, this is, I kind of I jokingly say, I don't teach AI, right? I teach human capacity. So our capacity to understand and appreciate, like, who am I? Why am I doing this work? What is the data that we have in our organization? How is that moving around? Who is accessing? Where's it going? And then when we bring AI into that, one of the precursors to all of this stuff, this flashy stuff, this cool stuff that we're talking about, is the actual setup from a data security, ethics, privacy perspective. There has to be a process of I can never say this phrase, due diligence. I don't know whether it's the alliteration, a process of due diligence. There we go. I got it. There has to be a process of that basically allows you, and this is a learning curve for you, the leader, to understand and know, because we don't know that we don't know. So we have to go through a learning period of understanding what data is being used, what data is being accessed, how is it being accessed, who has control of it, who has access to it. And that means that we need a level of leveling up who we are in our understanding, and a method and a mechanism to put some controls in place for that. So typically when I do work with corporates, one of the first things that we do is to work with the leader to level up their understanding, their awareness, their field of awareness, and then translate that into a strategy, a plan document that outlines what, where, and how AI can play a part in their organization. And that part it plays is different for everybody depending on those previous steps. And so that's the critical piece that most people miss, because they do one of two things in my experience. They either go full on, jump into the pond with like literally dive bomb into the pond, bam, make a big splash, and it all goes it all goes nuts, because like data's leaking everywhere, like the organizations with people using all different AI tools, the data, it's just a nightmare. It's a mess. It's awful, right? Or you have people that go, oh, like I'm worried about how this, how that, and the other. Like, no, we won't use it. We won't touch it. Like nobody's allowed to touch it. And it kind of works in both ways. And then it's even worse, because you still have what we call shadow AI at play, because people will show up and do the work. A lot of work in education. I founded a school in 2011, and in schools right now, there's a huge debate on AI, right? Because kids are going, yeah, no, I won't use AI, miss. It's okay. I'll be good. And then they go home and they lift the laptop up and they're like, tick, tick, tick. I'm going to do this homework in 5 minutes. Yeah. And go and play out on my bike, right? So that's happening in workplaces as well. This shadow AI is a very real thing. And if we choose the path of ignoring, there's danger in that, because people will use it anyway. It's like saying, I'm not going to use email in my business. I'm going to send everything by post, right? Good luck with that. Or dive bombing. There is a middle ground, and that middle ground is the one we're talking about. Proper organization, proper understanding. And it's not the easy path. It's the path least trod. It's the path where we have to learn, grow, develop as a human, which is, for me, is the work that we're here to do anyway, right?
Yeah, I really, really love that. And, from a leadership perspective, I appreciate that what causes the challenges in delegation and miscommunication is the assumptions of what we expect people to know, but actually haven't agreed or aligned with them that they should know that. And so my perspective versus your perspective creates a mismatch in what you're speaking to. We do it as coaches. We sit down, we design the alliance and the relationship with our clients so that we know our roles, we know how to do it. We know that we don't have to get it right, but we can keep evolving what we're doing, and to be rigorously explicit about what we want the system to know, what it needs to know. Even those things, as you said, that we don't know that we know, that intuition, that expertise, that unconscious competence, all of those alarms and doorbells and stuff going off that, we see it when they happen, but don't know about them to think about or talk about. But that's what you're talking about, building the system around and building the awareness so that it does know what we know. And then the other place that you touched on lightly is, well, what's the feedback that we'd be looking for to know that we're on track? And how do we integrate that into the system so it can be looking where we would look to know whether it's on track, so it can course correct and adjust, particularly as you spoke to in terms of sales or traffic and things like that. Over time, the system can also start to learn and evolve. And I think when we view it from that perspective, it's a different relationship, because now it's that synergy you were talking to before, not an independent, you go off and do that. And I think that, to me, is what makes a difference from what you're sharing with us today.
Yes. And we have to appreciate that this is like going and learning a new language. That in itself is going to take effort above and beyond business as usual. So we have to appreciate that. And in appreciating that, know that we're going to dedicate time to learning. My business partner and I, we have a joke that I created my website in like minutes. Beautiful website. And she took 24 hours to do the same thing, like 24, 25 hours to do something I did in minutes. And when we broke down, she didn't do anything wrong, but when we broke down her process, 23 hours and however many minutes of her time was spent learning what's a DNS, how do I push a website, what's Cloudflare, what's GitHub, like learning and understanding all of these things. That's not actually the job of the task. So and I'm saying this because if we measure on efficiencies and outputs, it's not always the best measure. There has to be a measure of allowance for learning, development, and upskilling, especially if we're going to roll this out to leaders, to teams of teams. There has to be an appreciation of that. And so the measurement has to be built in. Otherwise, if it's all driven on output, the thing can fall down. Yes, it's important. And yes, that's the end goal. And there also is this thing that needs to be embedded in, so that as a person on our leadership team, like Steve, you've got to have an hour a morning, 3 hours a week to actually learn the language, and that's okay. And that's the best leaders give that breathing space and that time to allow that leveling up and that developing and that building of the important context stuff. It's a bit that a lot miss.
I believe there's also two different levels in AI when you look at it. One is the basic understanding of logic. So if you ask, hey, I need to do a calculation, you don't have to give a context. It just do it because it's like coding. Make me something, it knows the coding. And it's that's a good example of the website. Website has two parts. It has the coding and has the content that you're going to have. The content is going to take much more time, but if you, hey, these are my colors, that's my thing, it's going to create it. So what I'm trying to say is, use AI, like we said with your business partner, about DNS. Nowadays, you do not know, you don't need to know what DNS is. You can say to the AI, say, hey, listen, and I do this a lot. I need to do this. Just give me step by step what I need to do, or some of the team needs to do. Do this, do that. Sometimes it's like, I don't understand this, but I need to do this. Oh, cool. Yeah, that's done. This is not working. Why not? Help me. But this is the one of, hey, step by step, the logic kind of thing, where you don't need to learn the process. And I think that's, talking with your business partner, there's two parts of learning. It's learning that you actually don't have to learn. And that's an excuse to learn. And then
What? You mean life can be that easy? We don't have to learn? Come on, Erwin.
Yeah, I know. But then you have the other part that, yes, this is the learning to understand how you can use it. And the second level is really that understanding with AI, which is not logic, and how can, hey, what would be the right content for my website, and help me this, and this is two different levels, and people sometimes just bring this together, and it is not. So when you talk about your business partners, well, that learning of 23 hours, how much was actually you really needed to know, to learn, to be able to do your task, or you just wanted to figure it out? You know what I mean?
100%. Yeah, 100%. 100%.
And that's important. And I think, how do you explain this to leaders that they understand the difference between those things?
And I think you've touched on the horseless carriage frame issue, because the thing I see, the light I'm seeing these recent days in the workshops and programs that I'm running, is when a leader kind of sets their I have a thing called a human stack. It's the way that we organize ourselves, the way that we codify everything that we do as an individual, as a professional, and then we gift that to AI as our context. And then from there, we can begin to rub the magic lamp, as you said, Steve, right? And start to begin to have AI go and solve things for us and do things for us. And the difference with what you've just said there, Erwin, is exactly that. It's like, hey, Claude, I need to do X, go figure it out. The old frame is one of thinking you need to understand it and figure it all out and know it. The new frame is allowing the AI to go do all of that stuff for you. And that really is it creates a misconception, because now you're thinking, oh, do I swing on a hammock on a beach sipping a Mai Tai? And that's not what we're saying, right? It's subtly different, but it's importantly different, right?
And it happened in the past as well, if I may interrupt. Yeah. It's like leaders to let go that other people do the task. It's exactly the same like in the past. Yeah. Continue.
Oh, that's it. And the light I'm seeing in the moment is one of, like, shoulders dropping, like if you know body language, you see this, like a drop of the shoulders, a big breathe out, and it's like, you mean like Claude can just do that, and I don't need to try and and a realization, I don't need to figure this out. Claude, I just ask Claude, and Claude can go and figure it out. And that everything everywhere all at once process can spin and work and create to-do lists and processes. And it's like, yeah, I've gone and done it. I've just been in your emails. I've done this. I've connected that. I've built this. Here it is. It works. Like, what?
I love it. Like I'm loving lots of layers of this conversation. The metaphor came to me. It's like we got to put ourselves inside the magic lamp. But then we can't just leave the magic lamp alone. We've got to lead it. I think that to me is the essence you spoke about. We can delegate, we can empower, we can support, because great leaders, we want to support our teams, bringing the best out, in service of our shared purpose, but we don't want them to do it alone. We've still got to have the team. We've still got to have the synergy, the oversight, and the relationship. And the same is true as you're pointing to, with AI through the system that you're speaking to. We've still got to be present. So it's our light that can be shining through that system. For those of us that are inspired and recognizing that we're we could be talking all day on this, and we can come back to other conversations later on.
Before we go there, sorry to interrupt, but I want to ask Colin one question. So we've been talking what's happening now, and what do you see in the future going on around this? I think it's an important question that I want to ask. So we've been talking what's going on, but what do you see coming for the next 12 months, 3 years around that AI and the other evolutions around it?
So the operational frame that's a practical reality now that we've touched on today, right? That's going to become more and more prevalent. Mm-hmm. And so if you think about the early days of cars, everybody still had a horse and there was the odd car on the road, right? I'm 51. I remember when I first started driving, there were so fewer cars on the road than there are today, right? It's totally different. And so I think in a similar way, there's going to be a proliferation of motorways and highways and self-driving cars in that sense, right? The AI is going to develop at a pace that it already is developing at a pace that nobody ever anticipated. And the capacity and capability of these tools is just one of awe-inspiring magnificence compared to what we're experiencing right now. So Claude Anthropic released Fable a while back, and it got pulled after a few days. The experience, lots of us in the space that were actively experimenting with Fable was like holy smokes, Batman. Like, oh, wow. Yeah. People were building world-class video games with one single prompt instruction. The things that it can do were just mind-blowingly different. And so I see a world where the frame around us is going to shift. So we're sat here where we are right now. The world around us is going to constantly move and shift and change. You know the movie, if you've seen the movie Inception, where they're running and the world's just like, it's almost turning upside down and flipping and changing like a Rubik's Cube, like moving and shifting and changing, and we don't know which way's up. That's what I see happening in our world right now. So how do we navigate that? It starts in here. It starts in here. That's why I say I don't teach AI. I teach capacity, presence, because if we're grounded, if we're centered, if we're here right now, doesn't matter how that Rubik's Cube of a world shifts around us, we remain anchored. We know why we're showing up to do the work. The context inside of doing that work changes. It's the only thing we know to be true and constant anyway. Everything changes. And that pace of change is just going to speed up and speed up and speed up. So we have to be more adaptable. And in seeing that change coming, it's not one of go learn AI, it's one of go learn yourself and be better at being centered and here right now and able to adapt to the shift, because it's here. It's not coming. It's not in 6 months, not in 2 years. This is 6 months ago, this agentic stuff that we're talking about today. So, what choice do we have?
Absolutely. So, two questions. Firstly, where do we start? Like, what's one place people can start with this?
By taking all of that stuff that's inside of you and beginning to write it down. Here's the interesting thing about all the magic we're talking about. AI is fueled by simple markdown files, text in files, files in folders. The uniqueness of you needs to be translated into documents, i.e. written down. Who are you? What do you do? How do you work? How do you not work? What you were talking about, Erwin? What are your weaknesses? All of those things, if that's codified, and then that codification starts with you, it can span the entire organization, right? If you're a leader running a business, when it's codified, AI can consume it and then use it. So the first step is in getting things out of your head and onto paper. And then in that process alone, you come to a place of more clarity. Why are you doing the work that you're doing around that? Who is it you're here to serve? Why are we doing this? Why are we showing up and doing this work in the first place? And when we go through a process of understanding that, we show up differently in the world. And as a byproduct, we've now got this beautiful context that we can feed into the machine to help us do more of that work. So first step, get it out of your head and get it on paper.
Love it. I'm not surprised but blown away. One of the magical things that I see in coaching is when conversations sort of come back on themselves. You know, there's a loop that gets closed, and the loop that I'm seeing is here we are talking about technology that most of us can't comprehend in ways that it's emerging and growing. Like, this is a conversation of the future, and yet here we are, and the first step is know thyself. Yeah, Oracle of Delphi kind of wisdom. It's know thyself. This is the place to start. This is what we as coaches love. This is where the power is. So let's connect to the power and then see how we can focus. I really love where that's sitting, and it feels like a powerful place to play from.
It feels easy, doesn't it? It feels easy because I built that multi-million-dollar business through nothing but brute force, like staying up, working 20 hours a day, like literally burning the candle at both ends, like brute force. And then in building my coaching practice, because I was on this spiritual journey of discovery, it was like, I can change the world just by sitting in meditation, by looking inside of me and understanding what's going on in here. And that's how I changed the world. Like really understanding that's the key. Can it be that easy? Yeah. It can. That's the bit that's like magic, man.
Well, for those that are inspired that want to learn more and connect, like how can people connect with you?
Super easy. Go and jump onto colinscotland.com. I drop a newsletter out every Friday where I just share what's going on in my world and in the world of AI, in the way that we've talked about today, the grounded human first approach. So that'll be the first and best step, I think.
Well, Colin, thank you very much for this exciting and interesting topic, which is really happening today and what's happening in the future. So thank you very much. Everybody else, thank you for listening in, I would say. Yes, correctly. No AI here to help me. And until the next episode, take care. Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to The Coaching Edge. Until next time, keep coaching and keep growing.